My name is Natalie Sanandaji. I'm an American Jew, born to an Iranian father and an Israeli mother. As the daughter of an Israeli mother, I've been coming to Israel almost every year my entire life, and the summer of 2023 was no different. I came for a friend's wedding and I extended to be with friends and family for the holidays and found myself at the Nova Festival. Me and three friends drove down to the festival, and in Israel, when you buy tickets to a festival, it's not like in America where you automatically receive the ticket as soon as you purchase it. In Israel, for security purposes, they do a vetting system where they ask for your personal information, your social media accounts, your government ID number to make sure you are who you say you are. And another security practice that they do is they don't give the location of the festival until a few hours before it's supposed to start. So we're getting ready to start heading down, and we get the location and we see that it's near Gaza. And I remember looking at my friends, as the only American in the group, I kind of looked to my Israeli friends and I'm like, should we be nervous that it's so close to Gaza? And they kind of laughed at me. They're like, Natalie, yesterday you were hiking in the north and you were near Lebanon. You know, anywhere you go in Israel, you're going to be near some enemy. But you're not going to not live life. You're not going to not experience Israel simply because you're near an enemy. And I figured, they're right. And we head down to the festival. We arrived at around 1:30. We danced for a few hours, and at around 3:30, my friends said that they were tired and they wanted to take a rest and wake up for the sunrise of the festival. And typically with festivals like these, in these type of festival grounds, they have a designated area for people to build their campsite with their friends, because the festivals typically go from 24 hours to 3 days. So you want to have kind of like your own little campsite where you can sit on your camping chairs that you bring with you, and you have a tent and whatever you bring with you. So we decided to take a rest, and we're sleeping on the camping chairs. And at around 6:30, 6:29, when the rocket started, we were actually sleeping on the camping chairs. And one of our friends who was on the dance floor at the time that the first rockets were intercepted wanted to come and wake us up and make sure we were alert to the situation. So she comes and she wakes us up, and she's smiling and she's so calm. She kind of just nudges us awake and she's like, "Hey guys, Boker Tov, good morning. I just wanted you to know a few rockets were intercepted overhead. It's fine. It's normal for the area that we're in. We know that our neighbors, like to disrupt our peace on the holidays, and today's a holiday and it's Shabbat. So nothing to worry about. It's probably just going to be a few, and the party's going to continue. I just wanted you guys to be awake and alert." And I want you guys to try to imagine, let's say in America at Coachella, which is ironic with what happened in Coachella recently, but imagine kids at Coachella dancing, and then imagine rockets being intercepted over their heads as they're dancing. Now imagine them reacting in such a calm manner. That simply wouldn't happen. But unfortunately for Israelis, that is their reality, that they deal with things like this on a semi-regular basis. So we stayed fairly calm at first. It was my first time experiencing rockets because I'm American, but I looked to my Israeli friends, and I got up from my camping chair and I started counting the rockets. And first it was 5, and then it was 10, and then it was 15, and then it was 20. And I think somewhere between 15 and 20, I noticed everyone else starts to get a little bit nervous and start to realize this isn't just another ordinary situation. Why are the rockets not stopping? And at this point, festival security had shut off all the music, and they asked everyone to please evacuate to their cars. And we started packing up our things, and we're evacuating to our cars. And as we're going to the cars, I asked my friends, "Can I use the bathroom?" I figured it's over 3,000 people at this festival. The majority of us are trying to leave at the same time. We're probably going to be stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic. And they're like, "Yeah, don't worry. It's all good. It's rockets. We have the Iron Dome. We're going to wait for you by the car. Take your time. Go to the bathroom." So I go to the bathrooms. I head back to the car. And not until about 2 weeks into the war did I realize how much I had put my life at risk just by going to those bathrooms. Because about 2 weeks into the war was when this video surfaced that I'm sure a majority of you have seen, of the Hamas terrorists coming to these yellow porta potties and shooting at every stall, trying to kill anyone who was inside. So I was in those bathrooms maybe 15 minutes before they had arrived. We get in our car and we start driving out, and like we thought, we were in bumper-to-bumper traffic. And suddenly we hear the security screaming at everyone to pull their cars over to the side of the dirt road and get out of their cars and start running. And we couldn't understand, why would they tell us to run from rockets? That doesn't make any sense. we figured, you know, their security, they must know something that we don't know, and they have our best interests at heart, so we should just listen to them. So we pull the car over, and we're sitting in the car for a few moments, and we're looking at each other kind of confused. And that's when we heard the first gunshots. And automatically, when you hear the first gunshots, you realize there are terrorists on foot nearby and that they're armed. We opened our doors and we started running, and everyone in the cars around us was doing the same. And people were running in every direction. Nobody knew what direction was the direction of safety. And in the beginning of the war, when I started interviewing, I got asked a lot how I knew what direction to run to, how I knew what decisions to make to save my life. And it was a very hard question to answer because the answer is that nobody knew. And a few months into the war, I spoke at a vigil in Columbus Circle, and a man came up to me and he said that he had seen many of my interviews and he saw how much I was struggling to answer this question. And he said that he had personally interviewed many Holocaust survivors in his life. And that when Holocaust survivors were asked in life and death situations how they knew what decisions to make to save their lives, they coined a term called a choiceless choice. And basically the meaning of a choiceless choice is that in these life and death situations, you don't have much time to assess which decision is going to be the safer decision, which decision might save your life as opposed to maybe getting you killed. But you simply have to make a choice in that moment. And that really perfectly described all the decisions me and my friends made while running from Hamas terrorists. They were all choiceless choices. And a major example, major choiceless choice that I'll always remember is about 2 hours into running, we ran into a group of friends from the festival, and we hadn't seen them from the beginning since we started running, and they were all hiding in a ditch. There was maybe 15 of them. And they called us over and they were like, guys, come here, come hide in this ditch with us. We're gonna hide from the terrorists. And we started crawling into this ditch, and then one of the 3 friends that I came with was standing over the ditch and kind of looking down at us. And I guess he imagined himself, if I was a terrorist and I found all these people in this ditch, what would I do? And his automatic thought was I would shoot them right on the spot. And he started screaming at us. He said, we have to get out of this ditch. If we hide here, we're done for. Our only option for survival was to continue moving at all times. We had to keep running. So we crawled out of the ditch and we listened to him and we continued to run, and we asked our friends to come with us, and they said, no, we feel safer here. We're going to stay here. We're going to hide in the ditch. And unfortunately, we found out a day or two later that none of the friends we left behind made it out of that ditch alive. We continue running, and I would say maybe half an hour later, we run into a police officer. And it's the first time we see any police force. And we asked him, where is everyone? Where's the backup? Where's the help? Why are we running alone? And he said he didn't have any answers. He said everyone from his unit was already killed. And we asked him, well, you have a walkie-talkie. Can't you call for backup? And he said that the Hamas terrorists had taken over the local police radio station, and that if he were even to try to use his walkie-talkie to call for backup, he would simply give up our location to the terrorists. He said the most I can do is to walk alongside you guys and try to protect you to the best of my ability. So he's walking alongside us, and we get to this main road, this paved road, and we see hundreds of other people from the festival walking down this road. And we asked him, do you think it's a safe idea? Do you think it's a good idea for us to continue with all these people, or will it make us an easy target? And he said, no, you should continue with them and continue walking with them in the direction of the sun, because in that direction is a town called Katish. And at the time, it was one of the nearest towns to get to safety that the Hamas terrorists had not infiltrated yet. So we continue walking down this road, and as we're walking, majority of us didn't think to bring water with us before we left our cars, and we see these giant kind of like valves of water pipes that are used for farming the lands that we're passing by. And every time we pass by a water pipe, we turn it on and we all take turns drinking water or splashing our faces with water to make sure we don't faint in the heat. And we keep walking, and about 4 hours at this point to running from the terrorists, we see a small tree, and we hadn't heard gunshots in a few minutes, and we decided it was a good time to take a rest and sit under this tree, get some shade from the sun, and kind of just catch our breath. So we're sitting under this tree with maybe 10 other people, and we're all just exchanging what little information we had at this point. And suddenly we see a pickup truck driving in our direction, and this truck seemed to come out of nowhere. And for all of us, our automatic reaction was that this was a terrorist coming to kill us, because at the time people were getting photos and videos from other friends and from family, and we knew that the Hamas terrorists were driving these kind of cars. And I just remember all of us kind of half getting up and contemplating running. And then simultaneously, without saying a word to each other, we all realized we have nowhere to run to. If these are terrorists, they're in a car, they have guns, we're on foot, we have nothing to protect ourselves with. And we all kind of just sat back down and accepted our fate. And I remember it was an oddly peaceful moment of all of us just kind of smiling and nodding at each other as if to say, you know, we tried our hardest and it was nice knowing you, and just kind of accepting that this was the end. As the pickup truck got closer, there was a girl in the front seat who had a festival wristband on, and she was waving it out the window kind of to signal to us that this is someone coming to save us. And this man driving the pickup truck yelled at all of us to get back in the back of his pickup truck, and he drove us to the town of Patish, and he dropped us off. And as soon as he dropped us off in the center of the town, where they had a bomb shelter for us to go to, he went back to save more lives. And because of that, I didn't get his name. We waited in the town for a few hours until finally soldiers showed up, and then eventually we made our way home. And it took me a few months to track him down and to get his name so that I could thank him. And his name is Moshe Sati. He was actually born and raised in Patish and raised his children there as well. And him and his son on that day drove back and forth from Patish to the festival grounds for about 8 or 10 hours, risking their lives over and over again to save the lives of people that they don't know. And they saved about 300 to 400 lives that day. And about 2 months into the war, I came back to Israel, and I had the chance to meet Moshe and to thank him for saving my life. And for me, it was much easier to come back here and to see all the photos than it was for Moshe, because Moshe on that day saw all the horrors. He was going back and forth all day. He saw all the dead bodies. He witnessed much more than I did as someone who was just running for her life from the terrorists. And about 6 months into the war, Moshe finally got the strength to come back. And he sent me a voice message when he came, and he said, you know, Natalie, it's so hard for me to see all of these photos that are here. It's so hard for me to see all the people that we lost. And I told him, you know, Moshe, as hard as it is for you to see all these photos, just remember how many people's photos aren't here today because you saved them. A few months, about a month into the war, I started working for the Combat Antisemitism Movement. And since then, I have been interviewing and speaking out as much as possible to be a voice for the voiceless. I was one of the fortunate ones who survived this horrific attack. And I wanted to speak out and be a voice for all those who lost their voice on that day, all those who were murdered, all those who were taken hostage, and all those who were too traumatized, even until today, to speak out. So I just want to say, you know, as a survivor, thank you to all of you for coming and bearing witness to what happened at the Nova Festival on October 7th. And thank you for coming, you know, to pay your respects to all these beautiful souls that we lost. So truly, it means a lot to me that you're all here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.